one specific attack that I really wanted to talk about for some time now, and one that you definitely won't find in the public, was actually one that occurred with me. Now, in case y'all don't know, first of all, hi, my name is Animal Al. I cover stories about when animals attack humans, real life stories. In regards to this particular story, it happened to me when I was about 5 years old, and I'm from East Africa, Tanzania, land of Simba and Mufasa. Right now, I currently live in Toronto, and I arrived here when I was 10 years old. Just a few years before that, my dad used to own this German Shepherd called Rex, and he was a guard dog, and I was in a place called Dar es Salaam. It's close to the capital of Tanzania, which is Dodoma. And essentially, I was just a little carefree kid. I had monkeys in the backyard and stuff like that, at my house. And, I was no stranger to wildlife. You know what I mean? Not only was I into, animal attack movies, I used to watch Jaws almost every week. I never really had a problem with dogs up until this particular experience, which traumatized me for many years. My sister had actually gotten married at the time, and she moved to a place called Upanga, and she was there with my brother-in-law. They had two guard dogs. One was Rex and one was Laura. Now, I don't remember what breed Laura was, but I know Rex was a German Shepherd and he was a beast. Bred to guard, for real, right? Not just flocks of sheep. We're talking about, that thing can kill. I've heard things about Rex, you know what I mean? After the incident, once I was older. Yeah, that was a vicious dog. And Rex was vicious for good reason, because, you're growing up in a third world country. Luckily, we were fortunate enough to not go through those kinds of struggles. We were healthy, we had a good home, we had two good homes, and we were living in an urbanized part of the city. But regardless of where you're living, it's still Africa, it's still Tanzania, it's not even a developing country yet. We can say it's still underdeveloped. So it's still in that third world stage. Having dogs like Rex, or, having security guards with guns, or we actually had a Maasai. Now, I'm not sure if you know what those are, but in case you don't, they're tribesmen, African tribes, the ones that jump really high. They have those dances that they do around the fire and all that. It's real. They drink cow blood and whatnot. So we had Maasais that we actually had one guarding our house with a spear. Now, you don't want to mess with Maasais, you know what I mean? I feel like their bar mitzvah is killing a lion with a spear when you're 15, then you're a man, Now, not with all tribes, but I think that actually happens. Crazy enough. So I was just 6 years old or so, maybe 7. And I remember I was going to my sister's house for the first time, after she got married. The guard opens the gates. I remember he was wearing some green uniform or something, the night guard. And it was late at night, pitch dark. It's a big house, And so it had a nice metal gate entrance and all that. And so we go in through the gates, and I still remember this, because it was such a traumatizing experience. My dad's like, Ali, make sure you don't step out of the car right now. Don't step out of the car. And then he mumbles something. And I think he said something about a dog. I don't remember. I was 6. But right when he said that, I didn't listen. I wasn't listening to what he was saying. I was just kind of focused on the house and how beautiful it looked. I remember it had really nice plants outside, and it was a big house. My sister and her husband, they had good careers and they had a good life. So the house was just so nice, and I was just as a kid, I was just I can't wait to go in. It's so big. And I remember, for some reason, the door was unlocked. If anything, my dad, that was his only mistake. He should have locked the door, right? But I just kind of opened the door so fast, and I just started running towards the house. And as I did that, I remember turning around, and I see the guard. I see the guard with the dog, and he's holding it on a chain or whatever, like a big rope or whatever. So just as I'm looking at all this, and remember, this is a fully grown German Shepherd, right? And I'm just a 6-year-old boy. And suddenly, Rex is off his leash. Somehow, he was able to get off the leash from the guard. I think he was just way too strong. He was way too aggressive at the time. His adrenaline was pumping because he thought I was an intruder. I'm not going to blame the dog, but... So all I remember was it started chasing me full speed. And instead of going towards... I was going towards the door of the house. Instead of going towards the door of the house, I instead turned left and started running in circles because there wasn't enough room for me to just go full out sprint. And I remember the chase lasted a few seconds. It was quite a blur, but all I remember was when I turned around once and I saw the dog chasing me, like, I couldn't believe how I was running like the Flash. Like, I actually, for a few seconds, was outrunning that dog. Maybe it was the maneuvering in circles that maybe, definitely had something to do with it, I think. But they're pretty agile though. They can go in circles pretty well. So I don't know, something or the other, my fight or flight, But I was able to stay away from the dog for some time, but it was probably just a couple seconds. You know what I mean? I thought it was longer, but Rex lunges at me and grabs a nice little chunk off my ass. I remember it hurting. It felt like burning. You know what I mean? Because it was maybe the air hitting it or whatever. But I remember, yeah, man, I have some like permanent Harry Potter scars on my ass, because of this German Shepherd. And luckily it didn't take off too much meat, so there's no physical deformity. But regardless, you guys probably want to know how the attack stopped. So before I ramble on, as the attack is happening, as I think Rex was about to start biting me, he was clawing at, my ass basically. Maybe he did bite me a little bit, I'm not sure, but I had a couple marks over there. And can't show you, YouTube censored. But regardless, I'm not trying to show my ass on camera. So then Rex was off me, and I remember getting back up to my feet. I ran into the house. My sister came out, and she's just like, what happened? What happened? And I'm like, I got bitten. The dog bit me. The dog bit me. He's like, which dog? Who was it? What happened? I'm like, Rex. So then I remember my brother-in-law comes out, and then he starts treating me, put like some ointment and all that stuff. And the next day, I remember going to the hospital and receiving rabies shots. And that's because that dog was always out, and I believe they had just gotten Rex. I'm not 100% sure. But for some reason, I remember getting the rabies shot, which I thought actually you get in your stomach, but I got it in my ass. So, my ass took a pounding. Pause. Those couple of days. So anyways, that was the attack. But, I felt horrible, and I never had anything, against the animal. Even when I was little, I just had this phobia of dogs for a good 15 years after that. It was actually pretty bad. It would traumatize me pretty hard, and now I'm okay around dogs. It took a while for that though. But what's really sad is, yeah, like I was saying, after all this time, I found out that Rex actually was bitten by a venomous snake. We're not sure if it was a puff adder or a black mamba, but it was a highly venomous snake, and he passed away a few years after the incident. And essentially, yeah, that's pretty much it. There are a few more stories when it comes to Africa and animal attacks. And you know what? I'm going to touch on them next video. But other than that, I just wanted to make this video. You know what I mean? It's a dog attack. It could have been worse, right? I could have been hurt even more. Luckily, that didn't happen. And so, yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know about the only animal attack that I've ever, personally experienced. If there are any animal attacks that have occurred with you, then I would love to know about them. Do comment down below, and I'll read each and every one of them. I do read each and every one of your comments. Sometimes it's hard to reply, especially because the channel's been growing so fast. I really appreciate all you guys. Once again, stay tuned. The channel's going to keep on getting better, and more content to come that's, different. I know I go for animal attack stories all the time. We've been kind of going with story by story, and I know you love those. But at the same time, I love the genre. I think it has a lot of potential in terms of just how diverse the content can get. You know what I mean? We can talk about safety tips. We can talk about how to survive animal attacks. We can talk about animal attack movies, which is something that I want to cover as well. Like the most realistic ones. What are the best animal attack movies, shark attack movies, bear attack movies, you name it. So other than that, love y'all. Be safe. This is Animal Al. Peace.